Hopefully this wind isn't going to drown me out. Just out on a walk. I work from home, so I'm pretty sedentary, sitting behind a desk most of the day. Try to get out for a 20-minute walk when I can. Keep the steps up. Just walking around my neighbourhood here in Saskatoon with my personal trainer. So this is about the extent of the activity that I do in a day. And beyond chasing the kids around after school, sometimes taking them to sports, gymnastics and dancing and other things. So on OMAD, I obviously eating one meal a day. I try to keep my eating window restricted to about an hour, which is pretty easy if you think about it. Prepare the meal, get it on the plate, sit down. They're pretty big meals, so by the time I'm finished my main meal, I'm pretty full. What I'm trying to do on my OMAD protocol is obviously just eating once a day, but I'm also doing two things. I'm keeping my carbohydrates really low. I'm not doing keto or anything that specific. Certainly no refined carbs, definitely no sugar. I do eat a lot of vegetables, and I'm not too scared of starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, but typically whole foods, broccoli, corn, peas. So some of those can be considered fairly high carb from a keto perspective, but I find I'm having to keep myself fuller longer. I'm eating more vegetables, and then I try to keep the proteins pretty high. I'm having one meal a day, trying to get between 60 and 100 grams of protein in that meal, and I'm not really worried about fats. I'm not immersing my food in fats, olive oils and coconut oils and the like. I'm not eating particularly fatty cuts of meat, but I am having fats in dressings, eating a bit of cream, yogurt, dairy, those kind of things. And I find it's really working. So 11 days into this experience, my goal, just crossing the road here. My goal is to use the OMAD process to drop some weight is the main goal. But I feel like if I focus totally on the weight, I will inevitably have disappointment. So I'm more focused on how many consecutive days can I sustain this OMAD or intermittent fasting protocol. And I've set myself a goal of 100 days.
100 days is going to be tough. There's going to be days where it's unrealistic. We've got Thanksgiving coming up. We've got other social events. We're going camping with some friends. I've got some work functions that I need to attend. But my goal is to identify those days in the calendar and plan ahead as much as I can, attempt to stick to one meal a day. Alcohol will be the challenge. I haven't had any alcohol in the first 11 days, but leading into those events, I'm likely to have some alcohol, which is fine. I'm not restricting it completely, but I think I'll try to drink it in moderation and still stick to a specific feeding window. So it may be that I look ahead and say, look, I can't do necessarily a 1 hour window that evening. I might have to do 3, 4, even 5 hours and make sure I planned ahead for that extended eating window, perhaps with a extended fast leading into it is something I've been looking at, or perhaps an extended fast following it, or even both. And the other thing I've been looking into is, do I do a down day leading into or following those days where I'm likely to eat a little more, such as a Thanksgiving meal or a work function. There's a book called Fast, Feast, Repeat that talks about up days and down days. Essentially, you can use calorie intake in combination with a fasting protocol to help you achieve your goals. So you might say, look, there's going to be a window that I'm going to eat more or eat longer, and I'm going to prepare for that by having maybe a day or several days in advance where I drop my calories really low. I have a down day, and I have the shortened eating windows to achieve that. And then that overall accounts for the day that you might have a higher calorie intake with things like more food, more alcohol, or a longer eating window. And it helps keep you on track. So I'm going to experiment with that, let you guys know how it goes. The other thing that I'm going to be curious about is typically alcohol has always been a challenge for me when dieting, not because I'm a big drinker, but particularly with fasting. If you've had, a few glasses of wine or a few beers at dinner the night before, the next morning you get up, you're going to be slightly dehydrated. Remember, alcohol's a diuretic. You're going to be thirsty, and you're probably going to have cravings triggered. That's where it's going to be, I think, even more challenging to keep on the protocol, to keep that window closed, if you like. Some people prefer as closing your window after your meals, maybe closing my window after the dinner and drinks, and then keeping it closed until the next evening, and then recommencing the OMAD protocol. So I'll keep you guys posted about how that goes, and I can share the experience with you. So I shared in a previous video, I'm 11 days into this current streak of OMAD consecutive days, which is pretty good. I feel really good. I don't feel hungry at all through the day. Probably in the afternoons, I try to eat around 6 p.m. So towards the end of the day, certainly starting to get a little bit of food cravings, but it's not unbearable. Drink a lot of coffee, probably 4 or 5 cups of coffee, but I generally stop drinking coffee around noon, and plenty of water, a couple of bottles of water a day. That sort of fights off any appetite or any cravings I'm having. So 11 days in, dropped about 3.5 kilograms so far, which sounds good. This is the kind of results I wanted. I do suspect a lot of that's water weight. As I said, I'm doing fairly low carb meals, and I know carbohydrates carry a lot of water, so as I burn those carbohydrates out of my system, I'm probably going to be losing a lot of that water weight initially, and that's to be expected. What I'm hoping to see though is, sustained weight loss as the days progress. I don't think it's unreasonable, but I'm not looking for anything too rapid either. I think total calories, I'm kind of shooting for below 800 in my one meal, plus some snacks within that hour. So I typically eat a meal, might have a light dessert, something like yogurt and fruit, or a light snack, beef jerky. Typically I'll have a small 100 calorie packet of beef jerky, or even just a beef jerky stick. So the calories are quite low, and it's protein rather than carbs or fats. The reason I'm trying to stick under 800 is my mother has had a lot of success this year. She's been doing the Michael Mosley Fast 800 protocol, and that's sort of two things. It combines a 18 and 6 fast with a total calorie of limit a day of 800 calories, and I was doing that, but I still felt like having the 6-hour eating window, I was having a lot of trouble still keeping those calories down. So I went to an OMAD style, mostly just to restrict my eating to that, less than an hour. I couldn't possibly overeat, particularly if I'm filling myself with those whole foods, like I said, good proteins, chicken, beef, salmon, but a really healthy portion of vegetables to really fill me up. And I'm finding it's really working so far. So far so good. One of the plans I have is to share, what I eat in a day. I just got to start documenting that. Typically, I'll take a photo of my meal and put all those together for you guys so you can see what I'm eating. You can let me know if you think it's going to work or not in terms of the weight loss. I'm nearly finished my walk, and I'm about to get muffled out by the wind again down this main street. So just wanted to say, don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me with my channel, helps the algorithm. If you're enjoying the content, let me know. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to post. Thanks, guys.